I want to say a few words about my father and why I believe this weekend is so important.
An unmarked manila envelope, left anonymously on William's desk yesterday morning, contained 12 handwritten letters that dismantled everything he believed about how power truly worked inside the palace. The supposed alliance between Camilla and Meghan was not rumor or speculation. It was real, carefully documented, and had been unfolding openly for more than 2 years without detection. And this is where the story takes a far more unexpected turn. The envelope that shattered the silence. William arrived at his Kensington Palace office at 7:48 on the morning of December 2nd, earlier than he usually preferred, though hardly unusual for a man accustomed to relentless schedules and little rest. His private secretary had already prepared the day's briefing materials, color-coded folders arranged with meticulous care. Yet resting on top of that orderly stack was something that did not belong. A plain manila envelope, unmarked, with no return address or official insignia, bearing only his name written in firm block letters. He paused before touching it. The envelope was thick, slightly swollen with whatever lay inside. Instinctively, his mind went to security. Unidentified deliveries to royal offices typically triggered strict protocols designed to neutralize threats, both physical and reputational. But this envelope had been placed too deliberately, positioned so it could not be ignored. Whoever delivered it had access to his private office and wanted his attention. William opened it carefully, tipping the contents onto his desk. 12 handwritten letters spilled out onto the polished surface, cream-colored stationery scattered like fallen leaves. Some were folded precisely, others creased hurriedly, as if written under pressure. He lifted the first letter and immediately recognized the handwriting. Elegant, controlled, unmistakably familiar. His stomach tightened. It was Camilla's hand. The letter was dated March 15th, 2023, almost 2 years earlier. William read the opening line, and his breath caught. "Dearest Meghan," it began. Not formal, not distant, but warm, almost intimate. His hands trembled as he continued. "Your recent interview positioning has been masterful, and I believe we can coordinate our efforts to create maximum impact while maintaining plausible deniability. As we discussed, timing is everything. If we stagger our revelations by 3 to 4 weeks, the media cycle ensures sustained pressure without appearing coordinated." William set the letter down, his pulse racing. He reached for another, dated July 8th, 2023. The handwriting was different, bolder, unmistakably Meghan's. "Camilla, your suggestion about the health angle was brilliant. Sympathy narratives shift public opinion faster than anything else. I'll ensure our team positions it as concern rather than criticism, and your subsequent comments can reinforce without direct acknowledgement." Nearly an hour passed as William read in stunned silence. His assistant knocked twice, reminding him of meetings, but he dismissed her without explanation. The letters lay spread across his desk like evidence at a crime scene, because that was exactly what they were. This was not ordinary family conflict. It was calculated, sustained betrayal. What unsettled him most was not only what the letters revealed, but how they reached him. Someone had intercepted correspondence between Camilla and Meghan. Someone had kept it hidden, watching quietly, and only now decided William needed to know. That suggested a fracture within the palace far deeper than he had imagined. He summoned his most trusted aide, a man who had served the Wales family since before George was born. When the aide saw the letters, his face drained of color. William spoke calmly, his tone icy. "I need these authenticated. Handwriting, paper, dates, quietly." When the aide hesitated, William cut him off. "They're real. I know Camilla's hand. I know Meghan's. What I don't know is how deep this goes." Left alone again, William stared out as afternoon light filtered through the windows, replaying every public attack, every carefully timed interview, every strategic revelation of the past 2 years. All of it coordinated. The strategy was ruthless. By appearing opposed, Camilla and Meghan had kept the palace constantly destabilized. When Meghan attacked, the family reacted. When Camilla intervened, it seemed loyal, while quietly advancing her own position. But why? That was the question William could not yet answer. And as he walked through the corridors of Kensington Palace, every smile from staff, every deferential nod, carried a new question. Who else knew? Who else was part of something he hadn't seen? The messages that began years earlier. To understand how Camilla and Meghan forged such an unexpected alliance, William knew he had to follow the trail back to its beginning. The earliest letter in the envelope, though clearly not the first contact between them, was dated November 7, 2022. It had been written barely 5 months after the Platinum Jubilee, that tense family occasion, where the strain between the Sussexes and the rest of the royal family had been thinly disguised beneath forced smiles and rigid ceremonial formality. Camilla authored that November letter, and its wording made it clear this was not an opening move, but part of an ongoing dialogue. Following our productive exchange last month, it began, I believe we have identified overlapping interests that justify continued coordination. Your position outside the institution grants you freedom I do not possess. My position inside provides leverage you no longer have. Together, we can shape narratives neither of us could control alone. William quietly instructed his research team to review security logs and travel records from the autumn of 2022. What they uncovered was deeply unsettling. In early October of that year, Camilla had taken a private trip to New York, officially explained as personal shopping, combined with meetings tied to American philanthropic interests. But when the dates were cross-checked, a striking overlap emerged. Meghan had been in New York during the same 4-day period, staying at a hotel less than 3 blocks from where Camilla's security detail had been recorded. What had transpired during that initial meeting? The letters pointed toward shared grievances. Despite her elevated status, Camilla still faced resistance within palace structures. Charles's advisors viewed her as useful but ultimately expendable, and looming over all of it was William, whose vision for a streamlined monarchy threatened her long-term relevance. Meghan's resentments were far more public. She had left Britain feeling mistreated, marginalized, and silenced by an institution she believed either could not or would not accept her. Yet exile brought its own frustrations. The brilliance of their alliance lay in recognizing that each woman's problem could be eased by the other. By December 2022, according to the second letter William reviewed, the relationship had shifted from exploration to execution. Camilla wrote, "The health speculation surrounding Catherine is producing precisely the sympathy redirection we anticipated. Your team's background briefings to American journalists, framed as concern, have successfully moved attention away from Charles's coronation preparations. Well executed." William felt nauseated reading it. Letters from early 2023 showed a partnership growing more sophisticated. Meghan provided advance notice of upcoming media projects, allowing Camilla to position herself before stories broke. Camilla, in return, supplied insight into internal palace discussions, enabling Meghan to strike where the family was most vulnerable. One especially damning letter from February 2023 stated, "William is consolidating authority faster than Charles realizes. Our shared interest lies in limiting that consolidation before he becomes untouchable." The realization was chilling. William was the common thread. To Camilla, he was the future king who could sideline her. To Meghan, he symbolized the institution that rejected her and the brother whose public standing eclipsed Harry's. Keeping William destabilized preserved their relevance. The letters revealed one final truth. Their alliance depended on secrecy. Discovery would destroy everything. Repeated warnings about operational security appeared throughout. We cannot meet again until sufficient time has passed. Use the intermediary for urgent matters. The intermediary was never identified, but the implication was unmistakable. Someone else, with access to both women, had been quietly ensuring their coordination. They were planning all along. The later letters, spanning from mid-2023 through the autumn of 2024, exposed an alliance that had grown far beyond cautious self-protection. Camilla and Meghan were no longer merely defending their own positions. They were actively attempting to reshape the monarchy's internal balance of power, and William stood squarely in the way of that ambition. One letter from August 2023, written by Meghan, laid out their shared assessment with unsettling precision. "The issue we both face," she wrote, "is William's popularity with the demographic that matters most. Older British voters see him as steady and reliable. Americans over 50 view him as the acceptable face of a modern monarchy. Charles is transitional, William is permanent. If we fail to shift that perception, we are both negotiating from a position of weakness within 5 years." Camilla's reply, dated 2 weeks later, was even more direct. "I agree on the timeline. Once William functions as Prince of Wales in practice as well as title, everything changes. Charles will be in his late 70s. and William will become the true center of power. My influence fades, and your narrative opportunities disappear. He must be diminished, not eliminated. Undercut, not removed. That balance is difficult, but achievable with continued coordination. At the center of their strategy was Catherine, William's wife. Multiple letters identified her as the key vulnerability in William's public image, not because of any failure on her part, but because of her success. Her consistency, lack of scandal, and careful approach to duty reinforced William's image of stable leadership. As long as Catherine remained beyond reproach, William's position was strengthened. Their solution was subtle erosion. Camilla encouraged what she called gentle speculation about Catherine's health, workload, and ability to manage royal life with 3 young children. Meghan's media team quietly fed sympathetic journalists stories about pressure, impossible expectations, and unnamed concerns for Catherine's well-being. Individually, the stories appeared caring. Collectively, they created an aura of fragility. The correspondence also detailed manipulation involving Harry. Meghan supplied access, while Camilla shaped timing. In an exchange from April 20th, 2024, they discussed coronation anniversary coverage. Camilla outlined keeping focus on Charles's continuity, while Meghan's content raised questions about family unity, shifting attention from celebration to division. Meghan added that Harry remained useful, believing he controlled his own story while unknowingly serving a larger strategy. Later letters revealed financial motives as well. Camilla's charitable foundation benefited from heightened relevance during uncertainty. Meghan's media deals gained value when she positioned herself as an insider with grievances to sell. Power and profit were intertwined. The most disturbing revelation appeared in the final letter, dated 3 weeks earlier. Meghan discussed potential documentary content centered on Harry's trauma and his relationship with William. Camilla advised waiting until after the holidays, letting images of William's happy family dominate, before releasing the narrative in January, when audiences were emotionally receptive. William lowered the last letter, feeling a surge of anger he rarely allowed himself. For 2 years, these women had worked methodically to undermine him, using his brother, exploiting his father, and threatening his wife's reputation, all while presenting flawless public performances no one had questioned. Catherine's discovery and the choice she faced. What William did not know, and would only learn later when he confronted Catherine directly about the letters, was that she had uncovered signs of the alliance 3 weeks before the envelope ever reached his desk. In early November, Catherine had been reviewing correspondence for the Wales Foundation, a routine responsibility that occupied several hours each week. Although staff managed the majority of the thousands of letters received, Catherine insisted on personally reading a select portion, especially messages from organizations seeking partnerships or major donors offering support. It was during this careful review that something caught her attention. One letter, sent by a prominent American philanthropist whom Meghan had previously referenced as an ally, included a line that made Catherine stop. The donor wrote, "As discussed with the Duchess of Sussex and Her Majesty, coordinated messaging around women's initiatives would benefit all parties." On the surface, the phrasing seemed harmless, but the pairing stood out. The Duchess of Sussex and Her Majesty. Together, coordinating. Catherine felt a chill as questions formed. When had this discussion taken place? And why would Meghan and Camilla be aligned in any capacity? She brought her concern to someone she trusted without reservation. A senior lady-in-waiting who had served the royal family for more than 30 years. After listening closely, the woman delivered a revelation that left Catherine shaken. "Ma'am, I suspected you might eventually notice. I've been aware of irregular communication between Her Majesty and the Duchess of Sussex for roughly 18 months. I raised my concerns with His Majesty's private secretary over a year ago." Catherine asked what had followed. The response was uncomfortable. She had been told that the king was aware of his wife's correspondence and that it required no further attention. She was instructed to make no additional note of it. The implication was unmistakable. Charles had known, and he had chosen silence. That knowledge placed Catherine in an impossible position. Telling William immediately would trigger a confrontation with his father and risk tearing the family apart beyond repair. Instead, she chose to wait, to gather clearer evidence, to understand the full scope of what was unfolding, and to search for a path that might avoid total collapse. She quietly assigned her most trusted aide to monitor communications that could expose the connection between Camilla and Meghan. She documented everything, and she prepared herself for the moment William would have to know, even as she hoped it might never come. At the same time, Catherine made another decision, one she would later struggle to explain. If Camilla and Meghan were working to weaken William's position, Catherine would discreetly work to reinforce it. She increased her public engagements, projecting steadiness and competence. She strengthened relationships with key media figures, ensuring balanced coverage of the Wales family without appearing to seek favor. Without William fully realizing it, she became his shield in a conflict he did not yet see. Keeping this from William was the hardest choice she had ever made. Their marriage was rooted in trust and shared burden. Yet she convinced herself this knowledge might break him, already carrying the weight of future kingship and relentless scrutiny. For 3 weeks, Catherine carried the secret alone. She smiled beside Camilla at family events, masking what she knew. The strain showed only subtly. William asked if she was unwell or troubled. She deflected, blaming exhaustion. Then came the morning of December 2nd. William found the envelope. By noon, Catherine was summoned. When she saw his face, guilt overwhelmed her. Their private conversation was the most painful of their marriage. When William asked if she had known, she told the truth. When he asked why she had waited, she answered through tears. What the letters revealed was devastating enough. Learning that his father had known and done nothing made it catastrophic. Charles's shattering response. The confrontation between William and his father, the king, unfolded at Clarence House on the evening of December 3rd. Less than 36 hours after William first uncovered the letters. William brought 3 of the most incriminating ones with him and placed them silently on Charles's desk. Charles looked down, and the color drained from his face. What struck William immediately was not shock, but recognition. His father had seen these letters before, or at least versions of them. He already knew what his son had found. "How long have you known?" William asked. His voice remained controlled, though the anger beneath it was unmistakable. Charles sank into his chair, suddenly appearing every bit of his 76 years. "Suspected? Nearly a year? Known for certain? Perhaps 6 months." He met William's gaze. "I was trying to protect you." William let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "Protect me? By allowing your wife to conspire with my brother's wife to undermine everything I'm building?" Charles leaned forward, fingers tightly interlaced. "It's more complicated than you think. Camilla isn't trying to destroy you. She's trying to survive. She knows that when I'm gone, her position becomes unstable. You've been clear about wanting a streamlined monarchy. Where does that leave her, William? What role does she have when you're king?" The question lingered. William had considered succession in theory, but now he was forced into specifics. Under his vision, Camilla would remain Queen Dowager, but with a reduced role and fewer resources. Not banished, but no longer central. And Camilla had decided that outcome was unacceptable. So, she aligned herself with Meghan, the woman who has spent years attacking this family. William's restraint faltered. Charles sighed. She chose relevance by whatever means remained. Meghan offered a mutually beneficial arrangement. "I don't approve of it, but I understand it." William stared in disbelief. "She's targeted Catherine. She's used Harry against me. She's worked to damage the institution you waited your entire life to lead. And you understand it?" Charles turned to the window. "When you are king, you'll learn that preserving the institution sometimes means tolerating what you find morally repulsive. I needed Camilla stable. Confronting her would have created chaos I couldn't manage. So, I chose suppression." The admission stunned William. It revealed a ruthlessness he had never fully seen. Charles had chosen calculation over confrontation. "Did you know about Meghan from the start?" William asked. Charles faced him again. "I knew they were communicating. I didn't grasp the full scale at first. By the time I did, stopping it meant admitting I'd known and done nothing. The political cost was too high." Something fractured inside William. His father had chosen institutional convenience over protecting his son. Their argument escalated from there, voices rising, wounds reopened. The core truth remained unchanged. Charles had known and had chosen inaction. Later, Princess Anne listened to William recount everything, then delivered her verdict without hesitation. "Your father avoids difficult confrontations. He did it with Diana. He's doing it again. The real question is what you'll do now." Anne's advice was blunt and unsparing. Dismantle the alliance quietly, sever communication, make coordination impossible, and ensure Camilla understood that William knew. Fear, Anne said, would be more effective than open confrontation. It was ruthless, but realistic. William could not expose the conspiracy without destroying the monarchy, nor could he allow it to continue. He would have to end it silently, making certain both women understood that their secret was no longer secret.
The alliance begins to unravel.
The first visible fracture in the Camilla-Meghan alliance surfaced less than 48 hours after William confronted his father. By December 5th, Camilla abruptly withdrew from 3 scheduled public engagements, citing a minor illness. Officially, the cancellations were treated as routine. Privately, those close to the situation recognized them for what they were: a calculated pause. Camilla was buying time, reassessing her exposure, and determining how to respond now that her secret coordination had been uncovered. Meghan's reaction took a different form. Within 24 hours of William discovering the letters, individuals close to the Sussexes began quietly briefing American journalists with a counter-narrative. The version they advanced claimed that Camilla had initiated all contact, that the correspondence was driven and controlled by the Queen Consort, and that Meghan had merely responded to overtures from a senior royal attempting to build bridges. It was damage control presented as clarification, designed to recast Meghan as reactive rather than strategic. That defense, however, collapsed under the weight of the letters themselves. William had shared copies with a small, tightly controlled circle of advisors. Meghan's handwriting, her detailed strategic input, and her enthusiastic engagement in coordinated planning directly contradicted the narrative her team was promoting. The documentary evidence made clear that she had been an active and willing participant, not a passive recipient of outreach. The identity of whoever delivered the letters to William remained unknown, but speculation spread rapidly among palace insiders. Some believed the source was within Camilla's own staff, someone disturbed by what they had witnessed and unwilling to remain complicit. Others suspected a senior advisor to Charles, alarmed that the king's tolerance of the conspiracy posed a greater threat than exposure. William offered no public theory, but privately he drew his own conclusions. The precise timing, the selective inclusion of letters, and the anonymity suggested someone deeply familiar with palace operations and sensitive communications. His strongest suspicion centered on someone within Charles's inner circle, who had watched events unfold and decided that silence was no longer defensible. By the second week of December, tangible changes followed. Communications between Kensington Palace and Clarence House intensified, accompanied by new oversight protocols governing any correspondence involving Camilla. Staff members who once enjoyed broad access to the Queen Consort found those freedoms quietly curtailed. Nothing was announced, but the message was unmistakable. Camilla was being contained. Meghan, operating from California, faced different consequences. Harry, according to sources, had been informed about the letters and his wife's role. His reaction was described as devastated. He appeared unaware of the full extent of Meghan's coordination with Camilla, and the revelation complicated the narrative he had long believed about their shared struggle. Anne's earlier prediction proved accurate. Camilla did not retreat permanently. Instead, she escalated carefully, increasing the visibility of her charitable work, granting tightly managed interviews, and presenting herself as a stabilizing presence during uncertain times. Yet the damage with William was irreversible. When duty placed them together, their interactions were rigid and distant. William addressed her formally, excluded her from planning discussions, and made clear that trust was gone. Catherine, grappling with the fallout of her own delayed disclosure, worked painstakingly to rebuild trust with William. Their conversations were final and painful, dissecting not only the conspiracy, but the silence that had entered their marriage. For the monarchy, the discovery prompted uncomfortable questions about internal security and loyalty. The letters remain locked in William's private safe, unpublicized but known. And while the alliance failed to alter the crown's structure, it permanently altered William's understanding of those closest to it. If this story opened your eyes to the hidden dynamics behind palace walls, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue uncovering the untold stories, the quiet power plays, and the human emotions behind royal life.